It's time for another installment of Tuesday Tours with Rachel. I'm Rachel Olsen, the Education Coordinator at the National Willa Cather Center here in Red Cloud, Nebraska. And today we're going to visit the Miner House, which has a special position in Willa Cather's childhood. This was where she spent a lot of time as a little girl. So stay tuned and we will make our way through the first floor of the house. And of course, I say this every week, but if you are interested in supporting our preservation efforts here at the center and in Red Cloud, you can visit www.willacather.org for more information on how to do so. And let's get started. The Miner House was built around 1878, and it's an Italianate style Victorian house, and it was built for the Miner family. Julia and J.L. Miner were the first miners to live in the home, and they lived here with their 5 children. Later, when they passed away, Charles Hugh Miner and his wife Retta lived in the home, and then their daughter Jenny Miner Ryer was the last Miner family member to own and occupy the house. When she died in 1990, a couple that was involved in our foundation purchased the home and spent about a decade restoring it and then gifted it to the foundation. Julia Miner was of Norwegian descent and made quite an impression on Willa Cather. Cather said that she was quick to anger, quick to laughter, and jolly to the depths of her soul. And in her 1918 novel, My Antonia, of course, the Harling family is based on the Miner family. And so Mrs. Harling is meant to be read as sort of an exact replica of Mrs. Miner, which Cather claimed this was the only character that she ever wrote exactly as the real person was. So here in the front parlor, there's usually artwork painted by Julia and by her daughter Carrie Miner Sherwood. However, it's been sent off for restoration. But there's a beautiful Lady of the Lake painting that Julia painted, and also sort of a nighttime scene painted by Carrie. And through here is the Miners' dining room. There's several generations worth of pieces in this dining room, so we'll start here at the dining room table. You can see here this really beautiful china set that belonged to Carrie and Walter Sherwood, who lived right across the street when they were adults, right across the street from this house. Their sister Mary lived one street over behind the Miner house here in Red Cloud at 3rd and Walnut. And here in this china cabinet, this hutch, there are some pieces that belong to Charles and Retta Miner. You can see there's some very beautiful blue milk glass pieces that belong to Retta. Then here in this cabinet, there are several pieces of painted china that were done by the Miner women. These top 3 plates with the figures on them were painted by Miners. There's a bit of a glare here. And then on this shelf, this plate with the pink rosebuds was painted by Julia. So now Willa Cather, as a child, was very interested in becoming a doctor and dissecting animals and learning Latin. But her friends, the Miners, had perhaps maybe some more traditionally feminine and upper middle class pastimes, like painting china. Cather was lifelong friends with the Miner children, and if you recall, My Antonia is dedicated to Carrie and Irene, not Anna Sadilek, who of course was the prototype for Antonia Shimerda. Speaking of Anna Sadilek, The reason that Cather met Anna was because of her employment at the Miner home. So Anna was the Miner's hired girl. And I believe she came to work here when she was 13. And that is how Willa Cather met Anna. Of course, Cather and Anna Sadilek, who became Anna Pavelka, stayed in touch until Cather's death as well. Anna would have come from her family's dugout out in the country, and she would have moved into this bedroom just off the kitchen. You can see that it's a very small space, but it would have been a change nonetheless from the dugout that she was living in with her family. These furnishings are not original. The painting above the bed, however, did belong to the Miners. Anna would have spent a great deal of time in this kitchen, where Julia Miner taught Anna how to cook and sew. The hutch is original to the house, excuse me. Of course, this kitchen had all been modernized for Jenny Miner Ryer, so all of that had to be removed. And here we have some photographs of Anna. Here we have a photo of her around the age of 17. And in this frame is a photograph of her family with John Pavelka. So if you remember last week, we visited the church where Anna and John were married. And here you can see their 9 surviving children, and also Anna's daughter, Lucille, with James Murphy, the railroader. She's the girl second from the right in the back row. Here is a portrait or a photo taken of Anna when she was 82. And this was taken for Life magazine, by Life magazine, for a feature about Red Cloud and Willa Cather called Cather Country. And then below is a photograph of Anna doing a Voice of America radio broadcast that was aired in Czechoslovakia during the Cold War. And this was not long before her death. She died in 1955, 8 years to the day after Willa Cather. Now through this entryway, we're coming into a very small little nook on the first floor that Julia Miner liked to use kind of as a little parlor where she would entertain guests. And Julia, of course, had musical talent and played a Chickering piano. So this is not Julia's piano, but she would have played here in this space. Certainly Willa Cather would have listened to Julia play in this little corner of the house. And the other pieces in this space that are important are these 4 prints. And these were gifted to Willa Cather by Czechoslovakia's first president, Thomas Masaryk, who developed a kind of a pen pal friendship with Cather. And she ordered more of these prints to be given to the Miner sisters. You can see some of the details. In a letter to Carrie Miner Sherwood, Cather also asked that a print be framed and given to Anna, because Cather knew that Anna would enjoy seeing images of her home country. And then just in this hallway off of this little parlor is what used to be Julia and J.L. Miner's bedroom. The furniture in here did not belong to Julia and J.L. It actually belonged to Charles Hugh and Retta Miner. But Julia and J.L. would have had their bedroom, and Mr. Miner would have had his office in this room. And of course, The window right here would have been where Willa Cather looked for Mr. Miner's silhouette to see if it was okay to come over and play, much like Jim Burden and my Antonia. This here is a painting of Jenny Miner Ryer, about, I think, at the age of 3. And of course, she was the last Miner family member to live in the home. And that concludes our trip through the Miner house. Thank you for joining me on this Tuesday tour. Stay tuned next week when we visit Grace Episcopal Church and look at the beautiful painted glass windows inside. Until then, happy touring.